Tennessee, was their season that culminated with a 5-0 loss to LSU a success, a failure, or something else? I will ask you that question, and go ahead and fill in the message board because we want to hear what you have to say. Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign with the code HOOKED. That's right. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting, keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. So 5-0 lost LSU last night. Tennessee wins a game in the College World Series. And for all of the talk of last year's team, and they were so exciting, they didn't do that last year. They didn't make it to Omaha. So is this a success, a failure, or something else? And if you pick something else, I want you to fill in the blank. To me, I think this team was overrated from the get because they got a ton of pub. And I do think there are, unfortunately, some journalists that like to play the game a little bit and like to beef up a team that maybe the year before were kind of jerks. And Tennessee was jerks last year. I enjoyed it. I had no problem with it. Some of my favorite teams of all times were jerks. I was a Dallas Cowboys fan in the early 90s, so I don't mean jerks in a bad way. But I do think some people pumped up Tennessee a little bit in the beginning for whatever reason. And Tony Vitello said that. He said they had lost an awful lot, a lot of players. And I think making the College World Series, especially winning the game, had they just made it, I think is a huge, huge success. And I'm not over exaggerating, but Caleb, I'm curious what you think. Was this a success, failure, or something else? Today's tough question brought to you by Zen Sports.
I don't think it's even a question. It's a success. I mean, Tennessee, how many they've made? Let's see, 1951, 1994, 2001, 2005, 2020. This is only their sixth College World Series in school history. And nobody thought they were getting there in the middle of this year. Nobody thought they were getting there. So they get there. It's by definition, I judge baseball seasons on championships and College World Series appearances. I think Tennessee has like 3 SEC championships, 6 College World Series appearances. Only one year does that cross over. So they only have 8 such seasons like this. Okay. So this is one of the 8 best seasons in school history by any metric you use. And that's a big success. They won their first walk. This was their first College World Series win, not last night, the night before when they beat Stanford. That was their first College World Series win since 2001 when Chris Burke was the leader of that team, which is a huge deal. So relative to where Tennessee was, this is a huge success. You're right. People try to act like what they did this year was underwhelming. Well, they went further than last year, but it kind of reminds me of, Dave, do you remember the Tennessee basketball team under Bruce Pearl, the year after Chris Lofton left? And they had Tyler Smith, and they were picked to win the SEC. And they didn't win the SEC. And they were considered a disappointment. But in my mind, I thought everybody forgot. They lost Chris Lofton. They lost Juwan Smith. They lost some key, the most crucial production from that team the year before they lost. And everybody thought they would just maintain what they were doing. And I feel like the same kind of thing was happening with the baseball team this year, despite the fact that they had to integrate guys into the roles pretty late into the year. So, yeah, I think it was a success. I don't think there's any question.
No, I agree completely. And it was a success without having to be over the top. D says, big success. We have Billy Bob saying that he thought a trip to the College World Series is a success. So I tend to agree with that. I wondered if we might have a bit of a pushback from some people. So let's go ahead and look at the game. Tennessee's bats went dead. There were some mistakes made in the field, but for the most part, I thought it was this team is not great against left-handed pitching, and Tennessee just never kind of got on that roll. It's the College World Series is set up. It is the absolutely most unique setup of anything that matters in sports. Would you agree with that? I mean, a double elimination tournament sounds like something you and I did in Little League, which I did. And I wish it could be set up another way. I know that it can't drag on forever, but I wish they were every matchup was a best of 3 series like the first 2 rounds. I don't know how to fix that. Maybe you can't, but let's take a look at the game, because there are a lot of people who had a problem with the umpires last night. Now I've read both. I've read where the umpires cost Tennessee the game, particularly at the plate, calling some outside low pitches. I thought for the most part they called it the same, and it's up to you to adjust. Caleb, what were your thoughts?
That's my thoughts exactly. The umpires they had a very wide strike zone yesterday. I think we all agree on that. But I also think that if you're a championship team, you're going to run across different umpires throughout a season, and you're going to have to adjust. It's no different than basketball. You got to adjust to refs that call ticky-tack fouls versus refs that let you play. You got to be able to win on both fronts if you're a good basketball team. It's the same if you're a good baseball team. And you hit the nail on the head with Tennessee having an issue with left-handed pitchers. I mean, I've never heard of a team that is so short on quality right-handed hitters. But I mean, Tennessee is one of those teams. And I saw Russ Rucker tweet this out last night after the game, and he's right. The good news, if you're a Tennessee fan long-term, is that's actually one of the easiest fixes to make in baseball. It's the easiest personnel fix to make. Oh, I got to find more quality right-handed hitters, and I'm fine elsewhere. But yeah, that was an issue last night. And technically LSU had 1 error, but they scored 4 runs that they should not have scored because Tennessee made mistakes. You can't put that on the umpires. It was 5-0. And if it was 1-0, we might be having this conversation. It was a 5-0 game because Tennessee's defense gave up 4 runs that they shouldn't have given up. And they've had issues all year. Their biggest issue all year, they're 6th in the league in home runs, in the nation in home runs this year, in total home runs. They're a home run hitting team. They have trouble driving in runners without clearing the fence. And with the weather in Omaha the way it was, and the stadium the way it is, and the pitching the way it is, they were going to have to. The sabermetricians would hate this, but this is one time where it kind of flies against the nature of analytics. You were going to have to rely on more small ball to win. And Tennessee has a lot more trouble with that, of putting balls in play. And you saw that yesterday.
No, and I know it would get frustrating for Tennessee fans, but if the bottom line is for the athletic department, if Tennessee did what they did this year, every year, without the bird flipping rounding second, making the College World Series, winning 1 game, if they did that every year for the next 10 years, and they didn't win 2 games, they never went any further. At the end of the day, what does it matter? It matters to football because you get your name out there. And I've said this before, the Lady Vols got Terry Fair. You have this commercial that you couldn't possibly afford about your athletic department that is out there. So at the end of the day, I hate that phrase. At the end of the day, you got a huge monstrous commercial for the University of Tennessee, didn't you? And you got it without the bird flipping. I'm sure Tony Vitello, if in 10 years he hasn't won a College World Series, he would be very disappointed in his career. But as Tennessee fan, you've got to be happy with what happened there, because there could have been a dude watching that is in 8th grade, 9th grade. He's the best pitcher on his team, and he's going to be a great quarterback. He was watching that last night, and that may determine where he goes to school to play football.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. And you're right, the bat flipping and bird flipping, it's good that they're getting rid of that to a degree, because that wasn't just, for those who don't remember the 2021-2022 Tennessee athletic season, was a bit of an issue because before the bat flipping and bird flipping of baseball, there were the golf balls in football. and
Yes.
fans were very, very defiant about those things. And I'm thinking, okay, this defiance is not going to help you long term.
Well, that makes me think of something. You know what? I think I'm going to write a column later today on offthehooksports.com of kudos to Tony Vitello with doing it with some class, because Tennessee had been marred by the golf balls and the mustard bottles in the Lane Kiffin game. And some of that happened last year. And was it the regionals or the supers that some fans did that with the baseball team? So kudos to Tony Vitello with doing it with class and showing he can do that. Can I take a second? Because Father's Day was on Sunday. Can I show off my new cup? Because rad dad. What do you think about that from my daughter? And also, if I may I go Uncle Dave's story time for a quick second? Okay,
Sure.
so Uncle Dave goes to Gainesville in 2001. Perhaps you've heard of that year. There was a terrible tragedy that moved the Tennessee-Florida game to the end of the year. And I get a call. They send me for the first time ever to cover Tennessee, Florida, or any away game for that matter on a Monday before, instead of covering the Vols back in Knoxville. Stupid idea made by a program director who didn't understand news at all. Nobody wanted to talk to me at Florida because they thought I was some sort of spy. It was a dumb idea. But my daughter got me the very same Kid Rock album, unbeknownst to her, that I went and picked up Monday night when my wife called me and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." I was like, "How could you tell me that when I just got to Gainesville and I'm all by myself and I have to be here all week?" But that was the album. Yes, here it is. Kid Rock. Got you. That's the very album that I bought that night. And nobody knew that. And it was kind of wild. A wild. It's just Uncle Dave's story.
Was it? It's funny.
There was also a bottle of Maker's Mark involved that
nice.
barely saw the next day. It was a combination of nerves and happiness and all that good stuff. So it was a lot going on, but I figured I would share that really quickly, just not to get off topic. And I am a very good right-handed batter if anybody needs me. I think I have some eligibility left. How does that work? Does my clock start when I enroll in class, or does my clock start when I practice?
Oh, that's a good, I don't know.
Ed Orgeron should know that rule because he tried to take a bunch of guys to Southern California with him after he signed them at Tennessee.
I mean, if anybody was going to tell kids to not go to class, it'd be Ed Orgeron.
Or show up partially intoxicated. Could also be the situation.